The mallard duck is a species of waterfowl that inhabits a wide range of ecosystems throughout North America.
While ducks are feeding, they often lend themselves open to predation due to many of their food sources being in open fields or waterways.
One main predator of the mallard and other waterfowl species is the great horned owl.
Our research question is, do mallards use a sign stimulus to determine a predator from an abiotic feature of similar physical stature? We are unsure how mallards recognize their predators, so we used a decoy owl in case there is a sign stimulus on the owl. A sign stimulus triggers a fixed action pattern, which in this case would be the mallard's innate behavior towards the owl.
The mallard's best defense mechanism is its eyesight. They are penachromatic, which means they have 5 color receptors. This allows them to see an exceptional range of the color spectrum. They have laterally placed eyes, which allows them to see directly above them and nearly 360 degrees around them. Their only blind spot is directly in front of their bill.
Another key adaptation that aids in the survival of waterfowl, including mallards, is the concept of safety in numbers.
In this experiment, a 5-foot diameter circle will be used as the testing zone in which the feed will be placed. The amount of ducks remaining in the circle after 2 minutes will be recorded. The control for this experiment is an empty circle with no object.
The first variable is a log placed at the edge of the feeding zone. The log is of similar shape and color of the owl decoy.
The second variable that is being tested is a decoy owl. The owl represents a predator of the mallards. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the log and the owl decoy we used in this experiment.
Our hypothesis was that the presence of waterfowl predators in the area decreases the likelihood of mallards to feed greater than the presence of abiotic features of similar physical characteristics.
A string was used to mark the feeding zone on the first trials. It was then removed for the second set of trials and replaced with a line drawn in the dirt. This was done to ensure that the mallards were not affected by the string.
In our video, the data is presented in the order of the control trial, to the log trial, and then to the owl trial. However, while collecting data, we altered the order in that the variables were presented randomly to eliminate the chance of the mallards becoming familiar with the objects.
As you can see, the ducks were slightly hesitant about the logs at first.
But by the end of the 2-minute trial, some of the ducks were in the feeding zone.
When the owl was present, the mallards preferred not to enter the feeding zone and stayed farther away from the feeding zone than with the control group or the log group.
This was the case at Edgebriar Park as well.
As you can see, there were other types of domestic waterfowl present at both trial sites. These were not included in our data.
These are the trials performed with string. The blue bar represents Edgebriar Park and the orange represents Wildwood. The data supports our hypothesis that less ducks feed when a predator is present.
These are the trials performed without the string. The blue bar represents Edgebriar Park and the orange represents Wildwood Park. This data also supports our hypothesis.
A study performed by researchers wanted to see how wood warblers recognize their predators. They used an inanimate object, 2 taxidermy predators, and an empty display mount. They measured the number of alarm calls a wood warbler made. The amount of alarm calls shows if the wood warbler recognized if the object was a threat or not. This was one of the studies that we found that inspired our idea to use the log and the owl decoy. They have similar findings supporting that they can recognize the predators from inanimate objects.
Another study done that relates to this experiment was a study based on the concept of a modal completion. This is the ability of diurnal birds to recognize specific characteristics and parts of their predator's body. They found that the birds they tested showed more fear towards a whole body of their predator than just the torso portion. In our experiment, the log represented a similar body size and colorations to the owl. Our results suggested the same pattern that they found, in which the ducks were much more reluctant to come feed when a whole owl was present than when the similar shaped and colored log was present.